The Simone Biles situation, it has been interesting for me, and my stance on this and my encouragement to you is stay out of it. Just walk away. You're never going to succeed arguing if somebody brings the word safety up and she brought up the word health. They're synonyms. Walk away. And there's no advantage, by the way, to kicking somebody when they're down. If her career is going to be over, then what difference does it make anyway? If you feel that you just need to dig in to set the point that she took a spot from somebody else and didn't maximize and value the opportunity, that's on her. That is the punishment. What's interesting for me to observe from the outside is how the fake pretenders, the fake defenders, have changed the story. That's always interesting for me, to watch history be rewritten in front of our eyes, right? And we've seen it recently in the fight game. Conor coming out and saying that he was doing just fine with Dustin, and it was a doctor stoppage. To heck with the fact the fight was almost stopped. He's broken in half, and 2 of the 3 judges had a 10-8 round. I only bring that because it's a recent example, but largely that has been rewritten, largely very quickly. The press conference that night, which took place 42 minutes after the fight, there was mention of, I guess we're going to run these guys back and do part 4, right? I mean, it was just silly. There was nothing competitive that warrants seeing that again. Nothing at all. That was an ass whipping, but it got rewritten. And I'm seeing the fake pretenders of Simone. And I must say that because many athletes have come out as a way of attaching their names, not only to the Olympics, not only to the great Simone Biles, but also looking for a PR boost for themselves. There are this many athletes, none, that think that it's okay to leave a competition partway through. None. There is nobody who believes that you should let your team down mid-battle because you didn't feel like it. And when I talk about the story being rewritten, people are now trying to talk about, she's flipping through the air and she could have come down and she could have been hurt. Like, nobody disagrees what gymnastics or what the rules are. What the problem with those people who are pretending to be nice and pretending to be Simone's friends that understand this time of need are refusing to realize that Simone already told the world why she quit. From the pressure. She tweeted it out. It was in writing, and she's never ran it back. Other people are attempting to say she was dizzy, she was confused, and she could have been hurt. There's no doctor from the neurosciences that have come forward and is looking at her, but even Simone herself doesn't say, I'm dizzy, I'm concussed, I'm lost, I'm confused. She said, I felt a lot of pressure and I need out. That's what happened. I don't think that anybody should judge that story, but if you choose to insert yourself to be part of this story, then pick your sides based on what happened, which is, according to her, she felt pressure and she stopped. Simone has been in practice every day, just by example. She still has the opportunity to enter, I call it the apparatus championship, where they go to the go to the beam, they go to the bars, they go to the vault, they go to the floor. She's qualified for all 4 routines. She is favored to win gold in all 4. What is the relevance? She is yet to pull out. As a matter of fact, she's gone to practice every single day. I only offer that because the people that are trying to retell the story to look like really nice guys that would really like to be along the ride with Simone for whatever she goes into after this, have changed it to something that she's not claiming. Which means you're essentially trying to put something on USA Gymnastics that isn't true. Hey, where were the doctors? Why is she not hospitalized? How come nobody's looking at her? She's in practice every day. She stopped competing because she felt pressure. She's considering doing it again if she can overcome the hurdle of the pressure. Very real thing. We saw Oliver McCall go through it in fighting. You guys remember that? Oliver McCall was in the ring fighting and had a nervous breakdown. He began crying. He couldn't throw punches. He couldn't hold his hands up. He was turning away from his opponent. He was in tears. They stopped the contest. I will tell you, being backstage, if you've never thought about calling a friend and asking him to call in a bomb threat, if you've never been backstage and thought about pulling a fire alarm, you have never been backstage getting ready to go into a cage fight. I was at a Rumble on the Rock. BJ Penn used to put this on. And a gentleman tried to miss weight to get out of the fight, did miss the weight, They said, hey, you know what? Your opponent agrees we're going to do the fight. He did everything he could do to get out of the fight. He did not know what to do. He could not disqualify. He didn't have gloves on. He couldn't find his mouthpiece. I mean, he did absolutely everything to get somebody to stop the fight. Nobody did. He ran. He ran for a door. Now you can walk away anytime you want. He just didn't feel that inside. He ran, and people just stood back and kind of watched him run. And when you run out of room to run, there was a fence. He had to go to the other side of the fence to then have clearing, right? I mean, the fence separated the property. So he runs into a fence. He jumps on the fence, climbs it, falls down the other side. I couldn't produce his name for you. Never seen him before or since. But I don't pass a judgment. That's just some of those pressures that people feel. Most athletes will overcome that. That's one of the things where they have a real sense of pride, and they will talk about it later. That's where Nike got such a great bump on the simple slogan that they did, just do it. Not going to matter where you feel like it. It's not going to matter if you think you're prepared, if you think you can win, if you realize the weight of the world in your head, just do it. But if you can't just do it, okay, there's another option. I don't judge the guy that jumped the fence. I don't have a hard time with Oliver McCall. These are real actions. I don't have a problem with the fact that Simone did it. I do have a problem with you fake pretenders. There's not an athlete amongst us who thinks that that is okay. Not one. If you don't think something is okay, it also doesn't mean that you think it's on the side of wrong. It is what it is. Walk away. But to watch this story be made up that she's confused and she's in the air and she doesn't know where she was, all of that sounds very serious to me, which again would fall back on USAG and the fact that you see Simone taking every media opportunity, showing up to every event, and then going through the practice routines because you still might compete next week. They don't go together. It's not true. It's not true. And the fake defenders that are trying to control the story and change the story, it proves my point. And my only point is there's not an athlete out there that thinks this is okay, which is why they never attacked this on the merits of she felt pressure, couldn't deal with it, and quit. Those are the merits. Anyone that has added anything else in that Simone never said, it's because you don't like the argument that you're left with. You don't like that something got tough and she didn't want to compete. I can't understand it. It would seem as though a great athlete, and I have her at number one. I think she's the greatest athlete alive. I think she's the greatest athlete to ever be alive. It's my opinion. I don't know if I can continue to make that statement because a part of athletics is going out there and competing anyway. We've seen this in our sport, right? We see some people that were very good with aggression, but they weren't fighters. Once those punches and kicks started coming back, they were gone. You never saw them again. They weren't fighters. They understood one-way aggression. It's a very different thing. In sport, if you are not ready, for whatever reason, if you said you were going to compete at a specific time in a specific place against specific people or a specific rule set, it's very clear you show up and do it. And if you're not ready, you're not going to get the result that you wanted. That's called sportsmanship. You tip your hat to the other side and you congratulate them. It doesn't matter if you weren't ready. You had a chance to be ready. That's sportsmanship. If you can't get to the ball quick enough, or you can't get the ball inside the basket or inside of the zinnia or across the net, then the other team wins. That's sportsmanship. If things aren't going your way and you don't think you're going to go run over the competition, you're not a fighter. You now understand aggression. They're two very different things. But there's no judgment to be passed on anybody. Not very many people would ever try to do what she did. I'm talking about Simone. 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, countless championships, opportunities. Her brother, by the way, was on a trial for killing somebody. He was acquitted, in all fairness, just a couple of weeks ago. I'm only sharing with you, there's mental toughness that Simone Biles has overcome. Mental toughness and dealing with pressure are two different things. To be doing a sport that you do every day, oh, by the way, in a situation where absolutely nobody's there, which is shockingly less pressure than what you've already come through, it's hard to understand. But at the same time, that's her decision. It's completely her decision. To come out and act like you think that was brave and she's even more your favorite. Look, Good job. You're trying to clout chase. You're trying to look like a nice person. You don't know how to navigate these things. You should have just zipped it in the first place. If you can't tell the truth, say nothing at all. But if you're going to try to break down the scenario and you think that that was okay, I'm not telling you you're wrong. But if you try to break down what happened and you quickly change the facts to anything other than what she said, there's too much pressure. I'm out. If you try to change it, it's because you don't like the argument in the first place, because you know you'd lose.